We started in DC because we wanted to talk to elected officials. And then pretty quickly we realized that the people we really wanted to talk to were the people. Meaning, if you were doing a story on homeless moms, talk to some homeless moms. Much more interesting to talk to the homeless moms than to talk to an elected official about what they were thinking about homeless moms. And all the homeless moms don't agree, but you certainly are going to get a different point of view. We did a story about the lack of housing in San Diego and many parts of the United States with a guy who commutes in from Mexico. He's American, doesn't speak Spanish, but he found that the only way he could have a relatively low wage job full time and have housing was to move to Mexico. And so I think what we've been able to do is tell really compelling stories that involve people and less, worried on here's this lawmaker and he's going to yell at this lawmaker and they're going to scream at each other for 4 minutes and 15 seconds and then we're going to give them a hard rap and go to commercial break. I think you actually become informed and there's, you learn something. And that was always the woman who's our executive producer and then eventually became managing editor used to talk about us being the teaching hospital of news, like that people were going to learn things here. And I always thought that was such a great model, that it wasn't going to be a platform. We just don't put people on who lie. We just don't put people on who spew mistruths. We don't cover those topics where those things, we just don't give them air at all. There's so many more important and more interesting things to be covering and reporting on. And so that's really what we've been able to do.
Do you think that was the biggest missteps? I mean, you've been very critical of mainstream media's coverage of, say, the 2016, 2020 elections and just the way they were handling a candidate like Trump. I mean, was that the biggest mistake the news media made, was to just give a platform and without saying it was lies?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake was to not sit down and figure out, this is new, this is different, how are we going to cover this? That everybody just kept churning along with what they did, not, on both understanding, but not really knowing what to do about the fact that they were being used as to help platform misinformation, just unwittingly. But if you invite somebody on who's a liar, you give them 4.5 minutes to just rant about something that's just not true. And I think the biggest issue is they just didn't have a conversation. Like, so what should we do? I mean, number one, I would say stop doing it live. You don't have to give people, there's no rule that says like everyone shall get a microphone and do a live shot on your show. I think people who are not honest, you can take chunks of the interview that they did. That's accurate, that you have them on for because they're a newsmaker and they're interesting. But, that takes time and that takes thought. So I think the biggest failure was in really, not deciding like what is going to be the plan, and then also framing a lot of what happens around the financial issues that we're hearing. Everything is a game, as a win for this side or a loss for that side, as opposed to thinking about, well, they're actually human beings involved, right? When you end an eviction moratorium, there are actual people. It's not just, well, that side won and that side lost. Like there's human beings, some of whom are Republicans and some of whom are Democrats, who are the ones who really won or lost. I'm much more interested in hearing from them than thinking about the whole thing as like some kind of a dodgeball game.
Do you think anybody's gotten it together by now with dealing with fake news and dealing with?
No, I don't think so, because I think there's a tremendous pull to give people airtime. I think people feel like if they grill someone, NPR did an interview with Trump the other day who just spewed a lot of crazy shit, to be honest. And I thought it was a good interview, but also like, you're going to get that. Donald Trump, that is what he delivers. And you're literally giving him a platform. Now, eventually he hung up and whatever, but like you literally gave him of your platform. And while I thought it was a good interview, I don't know why you might want to do that. Like, I don't think there was any factual, tangible thing that came out of that interview, except for an unhinged rant. And maybe that's important. Here's an unhinged rant, but I don't know that that's worth it.